one that was announced ahead of time.
President Biden is getting ready to leave the country. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Will head to South Korea, then Japan for a 6-day trip, though there's speculation North Korea could conduct another missile test or even a nuclear one amid a sanctions standoff with the U.S. But this morning, before he leaves, the president the leaders of the two countries trying to join NATO following Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
President Biden says he welcomes working to accept Finland and Sweden into NATO quickly.
I think we're going to be okay.
Turkey, a longtime NATO member nation, has expressed objections with the expansion. All 30 NATO members must agree on adding countries to the alliance. The president's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, believes those concerns can be solved.
Fox's Jared Halpern. The president's invoked the Defense Production Act to deal with a baby formula shortage to speed up manufacturing at facilities still open after a recall shut down an Abbott facility months ago.
To ensure that manufacturers have the necessary ingredients to make safe, healthy infant formula here at home.
He's also expediting more formula imports from overseas. The white 18-year-old accused of targeting black shoppers in Saturday's supermarket massacre has a court date today in Buffalo, New York.
Just 30 minutes before the deadliest mass shooting in Buffalo's history, the accused gunman shared his plans online, inviting a small group of people into a chat room on the messaging app Discord. 18-year-old Peyton Gendron described in detail his plans to murder as many black people as possible. No one alerted authorities.
Fox's Alexis McAdams in Buffalo. COVID's been spreading more lately. The 208,000 cases reported by Johns Hopkins yesterday, the most in a day in a few months. In Massachusetts, a rare case of monkeypox, though officials say the public's not at risk. It's typically limited to Africa, but the man sickened had been to Canada. There are small outbreaks in Europe. Investigators there have found while monkeypox is not easily spread person to person, it may be sexually transmitted. America's listening to Fox News.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
After 9/11, Ben Harrow couldn't wait to enlist in the Army. But in Afghanistan, Ben stepped on an IED while leading an anti-terrorism mission. Ben survived but lost both of his legs above the knee, 2 fingers, and sustained injuries to his right forearm. Ben now lives in a smart home from the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which gave him back his independence despite his severe physical challenges. Help heroes like Ben. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:03. Robinson saves you time. 61 clear skies here in Columbia. It's a gorgeous morning. There are parts of the listening area getting some patchy fog right now. Not here in Columbia, though. Not at least here at the station. Scattered storms are a possibility later today. Our high 85. Clear tonight with a low near 71 degrees. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Here are some of the stories we're working on for you at this hour. Felony terrorist threat charges have been filed against a man for Tuesday's bomb threat at a Columbia KinderCare. ABC 17's Marina Diaz has been reviewing CPD's probable cause statement on Alexander Green, who's still at large.
In the probable cause statement, police say that Alexander Green called Columbia KinderCare, confirmed its location, then told them, quote, "I put a bomb in your building to kill blank." Green said his son's name. The KinderCare then called the child's mother and confirmed Green's phone number with her. The mother stated that Green has been continually harassing her and her family, and that this is in line with his escalating behavior.
ABC 17's Marina Diaz reporting from outside KinderCare. A Boone County judge has signed a no-bond warrant for Green, who's either 25 or 26. The bomb threat forcing 97 people to be evacuated from the KinderCare that's on Ash. Meantime, Missouri's new congressional redistricting map approved by state lawmakers is now in effect after the governor signed it into law. It contains an emergency clause. That means it took effect immediately. Governor Parson telling Capitol reporters the new map meets Missouri's constitutional requirements. He also is critical of the Senate Conservative Caucus. He says that there are, quote, "a few individuals' political posturing that obstructed key pieces of priority legislation," end of quote. A Hartsburg man who is seeking the GOP nomination for West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District is critical of the new map because it splits Columbia. Taylor Burks notes Missouri's 4th largest city is being divided. He describes Columbia as mid-Missouri's cornerstone. He says the GOP Senate Majority Leader Caleb Branden failed to protect Boone County.
When Columbia gets split in half, that means our federal legislators, who already don't come here often enough, are just going to ignore Boone County. And so, Caleb needs to own that.
Leader Rowden said the legislature needed to get the map passed before last Friday's adjournment. Burke's one of 7 candidates seeking the Republican nomination in the 4th Congressional District. Bipartisan legislation that is aimed at eminent domain reform is on the governor's desk this morning after receiving final approval from state lawmakers. Supporters say the bill says that Missouri is open for economic development, but that it will not come on the backs of Missouri farmers and ranchers. Rocheport Republican Representative Chuck Basie voted for the bill.
One of the guys I really enjoy working with, Mike Hafner, Representative Hafner from Cass County, he's put an awful lot of effort behind that, and when we finally got that done, he was just giddy.
The bill was approved by the Missouri House, a bipartisan 111-32 vote. The Senate approved it 19-10. State Health Department is offering free hepatitis C and HIV testing today in Jefferson City at the Capitol, 11 until 1. That goes on today. And a well-known Columbia developer predicts Lakeside Ashland's outdoor movie theater will be mid-Missouri's best place to watch a movie or a concert. Nick Parks making the announcement on the Ashland Facebook page, Lakeside Ashland Facebook page. We'll have more on that coming up at the bottom of the hour. News is brought to you this hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:06. In sports, the Mets beat the Cardinals Wednesday night in Queens, 11-4. The Mets had a home run, 4 RBIs from first baseman Pete Alonso. Former Mizzou star Max Scherzer getting the win for New York. He improves now to 5-1 on the year. 7 hits he gives up, strikes out 4. Cardinals and the Mets wrapping up their series today. A day game, first pitch 12:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the White Sox last night at Kauffman Stadium 6-2. Witt and Melendez hitting home runs for Kansas City. They are now 14-22 on the year. They will wrap up their series with a day game today as well at the K. First pitch is at 1:10. Royals and the White Sox. Hockey, NHL playoffs. The Blues are at Colorado tonight. 8:30 puck will drop on TNT will be the national television coverage for you this evening. And, of course, the Blues are down in the series 1-0. That will then series head back to St. Louis for Game 3 on Saturday. Sports is brought to you this hour by Dr. Kent Willett Dental Associates, WillettDentalAssociates.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. John, thank you. Right now, clear sky, 61. And our traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. It is 6:08 here on 93.9 The Eagle, 93.9theeagle.com. Roads right now are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you're heading over to the Mizzou campus, they have started to replace those 15 pin oaks around Francis Quadrangle. They consider that a safety issue, so if you're heading there, be prepared for that. That is underway and will be going on for at least a couple of weeks. More team coverage, less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
We have more oil than anybody, okay? And it's an incredible thing that it's happened over the last few years, a lot of great things, and you're paying, what, $2 a gallon for your gasoline? That's okay. You know what that's like? That's like a tax cut. That's bigger than a tax cut. If Biden got in, you'd be paying $7, $8, $9. Didn't they say, get rid of your car?
Told you so. Really, told you so. Donald Trump, the night before the election, 2020. If Biden becomes president, here's what's going to happen with your gas prices. What did you see this morning?
$4.49 on Grindstone here in Columbia.
It's still. I heard it was going up. It's still holding strong at $4.19 in Ashland, which to be excited about $4.19 is insane. We actually heard it was going up and went last night and filled our cars up.
Yeah, late yesterday afternoon, started seeing the signs changing and quick.
Well, and it had been $4.19 at most of our local gas stations. And is it normal for gas to go up 30 cents at a time?
I haven't seen it. I'm sure there's some kind of reason, and I don't know.
That just seems like a lot.
So you're going to get gas this morning, 6:10 here with Wake Up Columbia. And if you haven't seen the signs yet, I just want you to be aware of that. I want to make you mad now and not when you pull up to the gas station. Because when I first started seeing this, I'm like rubbing my eyes and doing the WTF. Are you kidding me? OMG. All those things you could think of. Like, this can't be real. Up to $4.50 a gallon. What are you seeing this morning? Please let us know. 874-9390, 874-9390. You can call us. You can text us. Exasperation. How do you feel this morning? I mean, it's just like, you got to be kidding. And we told you so. And there's that too. We told you these are the things that are going to happen if Joe becomes president. And the people say, well, gas prices largely out of the president's control. Whoa. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. We have on record, member of NATO saying, because a lot of the progressives, well, it's because Russia invaded Ukraine, it's because of this, and record prices for oil execs. Okay, so why did Russia invade Ukraine? NATO is on record saying it is because of Biden's sloppy pullout in which he killed 13 American citizens, one of them right down I-70 here, because he killed 13 service members, people that were going to sign up to, they were serving our country. He killed them. Russia saw the weakness. The whole world, and Stephanie and I have been on this almost since January the 20th of 2021. We look bad on a worldwide stage, and people are pouncing. Russia pounced. So they said, well, the gas price is going up because Russia invaded Ukraine. Why did Russia invade Ukraine? NATO said because they saw our weakness, they saw our silliness, our ineptness in Afghanistan. That's why they invaded. If you see anybody today and they're, well, it's out of the president's control, you tell them. Listen, Branden Rathert said on 93.9 The Eagle, they've been playing the audio. We've been playing this for a couple of months now. This is why Ukraine was invaded by Russia, because of Biden's sloppy pullouts.
It normally feels good to be right about things like this, but man, those gas prices make it hard to feel good about being right.
And I seriously wonder, and I'm not trying to be mean because I think we've always got to be friendly, but I'm curious to talk to, if I run into any Biden voters today, and I would do it in all sincereness. How do you feel, man? You voted for Joe Biden. All the smart people were saying this is what's going to happen if Biden becomes president. This is what will happen. Trump called it in November, the night before the election in 2020. He said, here's what's going to happen. It is happening. And everything, all the other craziness, by the way, we'll get more into this later this morning. Disinformation board. Yeah, they're trying to do away with that really quick.
Man. That was faster than CNN Plus, I think. Really?
Which lasted longer? Tom Brady's retirement, CNN Plus, the disinformation board. Just crazy. I mean, if he had any amount of human decency, we all, I think as human beings, we have to realize sometimes our own inadequacies. We'd like to think we're great at everything and I'm the best at this, and you might try, but you're not. And there comes a point in time, what makes you really good is when you say, you know what? I can do all of these great things, but there's this thing that I can't do. I'm not very good at it. So you know what? I'm either going to try harder or I'm going to quit doing it. I've tried harder and I can't do it, so I'm going to let somebody else do it. If Biden had any shred of human decency in his soul, he would say, I can't do this. I'm a piss poor president. Now that scares me too, because then guess who becomes president?
Kamala.
Man.
And the vice president, if that were to happen?
God. 874-9390. Natalie, Tuesday, gas in Fulton was $3.95. Be interesting to hear what it is. $4.15 in Harrisburg. At 6:14 this morning, 4:40. And if you can, thank you for these texts, by the way. If you can, let us know where those are. $4.49 a gallon at a Quick Trip. $4.19 in Montgomery City. JT, we appreciate you listening to Wake Up Columbia in Montgomery City this morning. So let's go back in time. We went back in time. Trump, the night before the election, 2020. If Joe Biden gets elected president, he's like an actuary, man. There's people who predict the future using facts. That's what he is. He told us this was going to happen.
It's like an episode of The Simpsons, right? Yeah. They've been kind of notorious for predicting the future.
Like the movie Back to the Future. I think it was the original Back to the Future had a billboard somewhere in the movie saying a Florida team won the World Series. And people are like, Florida doesn't have a baseball team because they didn't at the time. And then Florida Marlins ended up winning the World Series. They're predicting the future. So in fairness, let's go back in time. Joe Biden, March 31st. This is like 6 weeks ago.
When it was announced ahead of time that Biden was going to release so.
By the way, Rathert hates when people refer to themselves in the third person. When Biden did this.
Much, and so much energy from so many barrels of oil from the Spro. They're already come down. My guess is we'll see it come down, continue to come down.
Nope.
6 weeks ago.
But how far down, I don't think anyone can tell. And there's going to be a slight delay because...
A slight delay. It might be 2023 or it might be 2024 whenever DeSantis or Trump becomes president again, or Kristi Noem or whoever is going to be in 2024. So there might be a delay. So maybe Joe's accurate there. Delay's a very, subjective word.
Stephanie agrees.
Bell agrees, and Rathert agrees with Bell this morning. The producer, what do you think?
I'm confused.
If you go out there and you're a gas station and you purchased X amount of gas at a certain price, you're not going to lower the price of the pump until you're able to get back what you invested.
Rather's confused again.
Biden is too.
God.
And that I'm talking matter of, I think, days and weeks.
Matter of days and weeks.
Well, how many weeks ago was that?
Days and weeks. Well, when I said days, I did mean, but it was like, 1,212 days. So he might be accurate there.
I mean, that is weeks. That is a certain number of weeks.
Certain number of days.
But it's hard to tell. And the other thing is, but it will come down.
It will. I promise. But just not here in the near future.
And it could come down fairly significantly. It could come down the better part of, anything from 10 cents to 35 cents a gallon. It's unknown at this point.
It's unknown. God.
And our friends on the text line are helping us out. Fred says it's 409 in Boonville. Natalie says Fulton had $3.95 gas on Tuesday. JT says 419 in Montgomery City. So it sounds like it's pretty high everywhere. Why are you guys laughing at me?
Because you're apparently not listening to our show. I just did all those.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm reading. Anyway.
She's getting prepped for the daily DC rundown.
Anyway, no, but what I'm thinking is, now I'm off. Now you've got me totally lost.
Rathert's displeased.
I'm trying to aggregate all of the texts. Sorry.
We already did that.
But
she's just trying to be helpful.
And you should see my.
Let's go back in time again. Let's go back to 4 minutes ago, Hannah.
Sorry.
When we did.
I'm doing the math on my commute, and that's what I'm thinking about. Is really in Ashland. It's like, okay, so I drive 20 miles, and all of my friends, a lot of people at Ashland's a bedroom community. We drive 20 miles each way, right? And so that's every morning, 40 miles. How much am I really spending extra? And for communities like Ashland, it affects, I think, when people are considering and that's what was on my mind this morning, when people are considering, do I want to move to a place like Ashland where I know I'm going to force myself likely into a commute? That affects my community because people are going to be making those choices. I know when Chris and I, when I was in law school and he was working in Jeff City, we were trying to decide, where do we live? Because at that time, back in 2008, the gas prices were pretty high. I remember feeling suffocated when they were in the high threes. And I remember driving into Illinois and seeing it in the fours for, I think, the first time in my life. And that was in, I think, 2008, 2009-ish. And so you think about what decisions people are making that affect us here locally based on these horrible gas prices. And thanks to our friends, I just wanted to give them some extra love.
I am especially ticked off that the timing of this just so happened to hit around the time I moved farther away from Columbia.
I know. I was thinking about you too. I mean, are you regretting that decision?
Well, overall, no, but it is I knew that gas was going to be more expensive for me anyways, but I certainly was not anticipating this big of a difference.
Well, and for our small business friends who we talk about, we talk about people's salaries aren't increasing, but think about how many employees are out there thinking, you know what, I might actually have to go to my boss, even though I know, our business has been hurting the last couple of years, and say, it's no longer worth it for me to work here because of this commute and these high gas prices. I need a raise to keep doing this. And so the pressure, on our small business owners is not only going to be coming because they're affected by inflation, but their employees too are going to be looking for some help and some relief. And I think if you look at something like COVID, right, I feel like the scariest part of COVID is when we didn't have a plan. Early on, we didn't know what was going on. But then we started talking about vaccines and people started talking about, you could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. You were like, okay, we at least have a plan. They say it's going to get better. And I feel like with the gas prices, that's what's so terrible, is there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
It's and I wish we had some better news. Please keep those texts coming, especially if you've never texted the show before. I think it'd be really cool to hear from you as a first-time texter, 874-9390. So we're seeing 419, 449 this morning. So that's one of the first things that we want to make you aware of this morning. Sticker shock when you pull up at the gas pumps this morning, 874-9390. In all fairness to Stephanie, what was it, Tuesday? State Rep Sarah Walsh was here on the show, and she told a very compelling story about the exact moment she decided she was dropping out of the 4th District congressional race. And she says, I was at the Hy-Vee in Jefferson City, and she was in a parking lot when she made the decision to drop out right then and there. And my next question for Sarah Walsh was...
Which Hy-Vee?
Come on, man.
I was trying to do math at 6 a.m. I'm still not there, but I do think gas prices have risen 50% because they were $2.98 when Trump got out of office, and I think they're going to $4.49.
And
Insane.
If you would like, you can go back and listen to the podcast.
An eye on the nation, an eagle eye on mid-Missouri. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
News, I'm Steve Rappaport. The white man accused of fatally shooting 10 black people in a Buffalo grocery store returns to court today. Hate crime or terrorism charges are still possible.
Just 30 minutes before the deadliest mass shooting in Buffalo's history, the accused gunman shared his plans online, inviting a small group of people into a chat room on the messaging app Discord. 18-year-old Peyton Gendron described in detail his plans to murder as many black people as possible.
Fox's Alexis McAdams. The U.S. Embassy in Ukraine's capital reopens after shutting down ahead of Russia's invasion.
Flag raising at the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv has been closed since February, amid new concerns on many fronts here. In Mariupol, Russia claiming 1,000 Ukrainian fighters have surrendered as the siege there nears an end. Russians saying some Ukrainians might be tried for war crimes.
Fox's Greg Palcott in Kyiv. America is listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:31. Robinson saves you time. 62 degrees, clear skies here in mid-Missouri. On our way today to a high of around 86 degrees. There is a chance of a storm today. Clear tonight, low near 71. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Boone County prosecutors have filed felony charges against a man suspected of calling in this week's bomb threat to the Columbia KinderCare on Ash. Alexander Scott Green charged with 2 felonies, terrorist threat and harassment. He has not been captured as of yet. Meantime, Missouri's new congressional district maps are officially now on the books.
Governor Mike Parson signs the new U.S. House districts into law. They're expected to shore up Republican strength. The new voting districts took effect immediately, meaning they will be in place for the August 2nd primary. But local election authorities say they'll have to scramble to make the behind-the-scenes changes necessary for absentee ballots to be available by next month.
That is John Marsh reporting there. John, thank you. A former Boone County clerk who's seeking the GOP nomination for West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District is slamming the Biden administration's handling of inflation. You can hear our full interview with Taylor Burks on our website. It's 939theeagle.com. And the State Health Department is offering free rapid hepatitis C and HIV testing today at the State House in Jefferson City. The event will take place from 11 to 1 on the Capitol's south side in coordination with National Hepatitis Testing Day. Basically, it is a finger stick, and they'll be able to give you a rapid blood test. We have much more on this, 939theeagle.com. Our news is brought to you this hour by MidAmericaMortgage.us. Our news time, 6:33. In sports, the Mets beat the Cardinals last night in Queens City Field 11-4. They had a home run and 4 RBIs from Pete Alonso. He had a big game. He has been outstanding this year. Max Scherzer getting the win, the former Mizzou star for New York. He is now 5-1 on the year. 4 strikeouts. He did give up 7 hits in the game. Cardinals and the Mets wrapping up their series today with a day game. First pitch is at 12:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the White Sox last night at Kauffman Stadium 6-2. Witt Jr. and Melendez homering for Kansas City. They are now 14 in 22 on the year. The Royals and the White Sox wrapping up their series. Afternoon game at the K. First pitch is at 1:10. Hockey Blues at Colorado coming up tonight, 8:30. You'll see the game national television on TNT. This will be game 2 of their series, second round series, best of 7. In Colorado, the Avalanche lead this series 1-0. They won the first game by a score of 3-2. That one went into overtime. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Service Master Clean of Columbia. Adam Kinser is ServiceMasterofColumbia.com, 573-443-8383. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or post your job opening today. Roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text. Our number is 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Honoring is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie, little lie. It's how you hide a little lie, little lie. It's how you hide a little lie when Rudy Giuliani shared that intel from Ukraine. Or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain. They're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious.
If you're looking at your radio in your car or you're listening on the app on your phone and you're holding up your phone, what is that? That's the proper response. That is Nina Jankowicz. So, you know, the Department of Homeland Security, these are the people in charge of keeping you safe, keeping our country safe, keeping your kids and your grandbabies safe. We're going to come up with this disinformation board. You know, it's kind of that Russian communist thing, will control the information. And the idea, the BS idea, well, you know, we're going to weed out information and we will be the purveyors of what we think is disinformation. And we know most progressives, in their mind, disinformation are opinions that disagree with what they think, because they wet their pants whenever somebody says something that they disagree with.
Well, and if you recall, Missouri Attorney General filed a lawsuit related to this, and I think he tweeted yesterday, what is his tweet? Mary Poppins may be gone, but Missouri's lawsuit against big government for colluding with big tech to censor Americans will move forward. So interesting.
So She gets appointed to this board, this misinformation bar. She is the czar of what she will determine to be misinformation, what she will determine is going to be truth and what is going to be false. So she gets appointed in this position, and what does she do? She goes onto the TikTok or on the Twitter or whatever and does this goofy-ass Mary Poppins whatever it is. So first of all, the premise of the thing is bad, disinformation board, and to celebrate it, I'm going to do this goofy, I have this high-profile position, and I'm going to get on TikTok and do this. These are the people that are in charge. Again, please do me a favor. If you get a chance today, and if you do it very nicely, ask people that you know that voted for Biden. I'm serious. Ask them, how do you feel? Really? Gas prices, $4.49. Keep your text coming, especially if you are a first-time texter. Would love to meet you via our text, 874-9390. Sticker shock, gas prices, highest we have seen so far in mid-Missouri, $4.49 a gallon. And it was almost like a magic trick. Just overnight, late yesterday afternoon.
Can we make that price disappear if we're doing magic?
I'm the great Brandini. So apparently they're going to put the disinformation board on hold.
Well, worse than her crazy Mary Poppins videos, people started going through some of the things she had said previously, and she herself was saying false things in the past. And so, it's just it was a terrible idea from the get-go. And, like most other things in the Biden administration, it went worse than they even expected. And I'm glad to see it go.
Let's fact check this. Because now here in the United States of America, this Nina Jankowicz and big Mary Poppins fan, she will be the determiner. She'll be the decider. She'll decide what the truth is. My goodness. And here's the other thing. She's just as, I don't know why. Maybe it's me, and if it's just me, you tell me.
Oh, boy.
Alejandro Mayorkas, he is the most smug SOB I've ever seen. He looks smug, and that's not fair to say, well, he looks smug, but it's fair to say he acts like a smug. And Nina Jankowicz is no better. Zoom call last week talking about what this is supposed to be, this disinformation board.
And I am eligible for it because I'm verified. But there are a lot of people who shouldn't be verified who aren't, legit, in my opinion.
There it is, right there. Who are not legit. And what was the next words?
In my opinion.
In my opinion. This is the stuff that the progressives and Democrats, people that voted for Joe Biden, this is what they want.
Are real people, but they're not trustworthy. Anyway, so verified people can essentially start to edit Twitter the same sort of way that Wikipedia is. So they can.
For all my friends who actually are on Twitter, let's take a poll. Why don't you look at the folks on Twitter with the blue check mark and look at the regular folks who are going to work every day and driving their car every day and tell me who you think's telling the truth. Is it the blue check mark East Coast folks, or is it the middle Missouri people who aren't on Twitter all day long without that little blue check mark?
It's just incredibly stunning. And not only the whole idea of this disinformation board, but the smugness. I am qualified. A lot of people are not. However, I'm qualified and you're not.
Do you know who are verified? Like famous people, like the people on The Bachelor. Do you know do you know any stupider group of people than the people who compete on The Bachelor? Hannah is going to give me the evil eye. But seriously, have you ever watched that show?
I cannot stand that show.
Right.
Did you guys watch it when our former Mizzou football player Clayton Eshard was on that a couple of months ago?
Nope.
No, you will lose brain cells if you try to watch that show.
The show is just about pretty people and their problems, and one guy or one girl falling in love with too many people at once, and it's such a problem.
And if you're that hot and you can't find a date, then there's something. Then there's
red flags.
Something wrong with you.
So is what she is saying there. We're going to do Twitter like Wikipedia, which we know is the pinnacle of truth.
No.
It's not?
Wikipedia?
It is a helpful resource, and I will go down on that hill because you guys are mean about Wikipedia, and people have evolved on Wikipedia. It's not what it used to be. It has become more widely accepted, and there are facts on there that are verifiable, and it is a helpful resource. It is not the truth necessarily.
In my opinion, it's not the truth, but it's good.
All through school, including college, we were not allowed to use Wikipedia as a source on our research papers. However, I will say, in Stephanie's defense, Wikipedia is kind of nice to get a fact, and then if I need to go verify it somewhere else, I can cite that other
Exactly.
source.
I mean, that's the real key here. Pro tip, Wikipedia has all the footnotes at the bottom, so you go to Wikipedia, and then you get their information, but then you cite whatever they're citing, because they give you where they got their info.
It's a good start. But
Don't dog on Wikipedia.
It was, I think it was Wikipedia. Somebody had taken Amber Heard's profile on Wikipedia and changed her name to say Amber Turd. I think it was Wikipedia.
And that's how we want to do Twitter. That's how this government official, Amber Heard got called Amber Turd. So as the government official deciding what's true and false, and we fact check that Amber Heard is indeed a turd. That's what they wanted to do. So I guess that's more good news this morning. And listen, this whole... Really, I feel like, we talk about the red wave coming. I do feel like there is a wave of people that support these progressive ideas that are going, holy crap. As a matter of fact, I love Columbia City Parks. I am just completely disheartened. We have 3 funding sources and cannot take care of what we had. I took pictures yesterday of a park. I'm like, okay, so we have 3 funding sources, and I want to ask those people and send all the people, look at this crap. They're not blowing the grass off the trail on the NKT trail off of Forum, right by where I go to the gym every day. Wow. And there's mud, caked, dried mud, and then when it rains, you're slipping through it. And I'm sending these pictures to somebody who supported this stuff, and I'm like, as somebody who voted in favor of the park tax, you love parks, you wanted more taxes, you wanted to support 3 revenue streams for the city park system, still not, and don't give me the excuse, well, we've had a lot of rain. I was hearing that same crap back in September and October last year. Well, a lot of rain, they can't get to it. That's bull crap. And you support 3 funding mechanisms for city parks, and they are not taking care of what they have now. And I want to ask these people, you voted for 3 funding mechanisms on this. Are you pleased with what this is?
So let me get this straight. 2 of the gripes that you just cited were grass and mud for an outdoor park.
It's my big white guy problem today.
I feel like grass and mud are kind of part of the whole outdoors thing.
Not in a park, not in a city park.
Okay.
My opinion. I haven't checked with Nina Jankowicz yet.
Oh, boy.
Well, let's check in with her and see what she has to say about it.
Alluring is really quite ferocious.
All right. Do we want to go back to gas prices? 874-9390. In case you didn't see yesterday and you're getting up this morning and going to fill up, we are seeing some prices $4.19. It looks like $4.49 right here where we live this morning is pretty common. $4.49 a gallon. 874-9390. Text us what you're seeing. $4.49 the highest. And if you are a new texter, we would really love to hear from you this morning. If you have never texted Wake Up Columbia, please do. We respond to probably 98% of our text as time allows. Sometimes it gets to hopping. We do want to hear from you. If you have never texted the show, would love to make your acquaintance and become friends. 874-9390. Don, Lake Ozark, welcome into the show. What's on your mind, bud?
Brandon, I'll give you an easy segue into the further failures of the Biden administration.
Okay.
This isn't gasoline. This is natural gas, which is going to bite us in the tuchus come winter. December 31st of last year, natural gas is sold in a unit called MMBTUs. The December 31st contract last year was at $3.63. Yesterday, it closed at $8.45. That's a doubling to heat your home in less than 5 months.
Well, fortunately, that's something We can start stressing about that today or come wintertime. Don, thank you so much for the insight. 874-9390. Did you see what the stock market did yesterday, by the way?
Biggest tumble since, I don't know, a long time ago.
Good thing this is not a feel-good Friday, which we are going to be doing tomorrow here on the show on 93.9. The Eagle. Kalina Bruce, who is running for the 4th Congressional District seat, put out a very interesting press release. And this is important stuff now as Boone County. We're split, man. Governor Parson, that bill got onto his desk yesterday, got his pen, and he signed the new redistricting map into law. She had a very interesting press release. Want to share that with you coming up about 5 minutes from now. Mark Alford, one of the other candidates in that race, he's actually going to be joining us 7:35 this morning here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9.
Everyone else takes it too seriously. Thank God you get it. This is Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, 93.9 The Eagle.
And now this Biden recession is going to be affecting people that work in those industries and how Americans enjoy our lives.
Taylor Burke's 4th District congressional candidate on Wake Up Columbia yesterday. Somebody you're thinking about voting in the race. Less than 3 months is the primary. If I were you, I would you can go to our website, Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time. He would be from the 8 o'clock hour, yesterday's podcast. Mark Alford, Kansas City guy. He is joining us on the show this morning. He's known as the Kansas City TV guide. He has been on the show before. He's back here. Kalina Bruce. She was also on the show earlier this week. She sent us a pretty interesting press release yesterday.
Yeah, so she said she immediately calls on opponents in her opponents in the 4th District race to exit the race. She applauded basically the decision of Sarah Walsh, but indicated more than half of the candidates in the 4th congressional race don't live in the district. And she basically said rural Missourians need a voice in Congress. Those in the burbs in KC and Columbia should not represent this rural district.
Do we know who does and does not live in the 4th folks that are running for the 4th District congressional race that no longer live in the 4th District?
She did not name names. I will speculate that I believe she is referencing, I think Taylor Burke's might be drawn out, I believe, and then Irwin and Alford, I think might be north of the district, closer into Kansas City. We'll have to confirm that. I mean, we can ask Alford today where he lands.
What do you think about that? 874-9390. Maybe it's almost a twofold question. Number one, if you're running for any race, but 4th congressional district, and you don't live in the district that you represent, in your mind, is that right? And then I think the second question to that would be, under the circumstances, do you say, you know what, under these extraordinary circumstances with redistricting and it being so late, following the filing deadline 3 months ago, do you kind of make an allowance for that? I'm always a strong believer. Now, maybe I give leeway to people in law enforcement because there's such a challenge to get people in law enforcement, to get good qualified people. Always had to live in the town that you. But I think for an elected office, if you're running for an office in a certain district, regardless of what it is, it's like, what if we went in the 3rd Ward race? That special election in Columbia is coming up in August. And let's say, for example, this is just an example, Carl Scala does live in the 3rd Ward, but if he didn't live in the 3rd Ward, would that be right? That people would vote for him to rep a ward that he doesn't live in? Is it the same thing in a congressional race? I think, yeah, it should be. I do think it's important, and that's no personal digs at anybody, but that is important. If you're running for the office in that district, yeah, you should live there.
Now, it's not legally required for you to live in the district. And according to one article written in 2019, I'm seeing that at least 24 members of Congress did not live in their district, elected members of Congress. So it isn't legally required. And, it's different than city and state. And I'm pretty sure the state has kind of if you get drawn out of the district, you get like a grace period. You get a certain period by which you can move into the district, or then I think you're disqualified. So there are strict residency requirements elsewhere. But for Congress, you don't have to live in the district. And honestly, look at where the 4th is now, right? So like if you live just north in South KC, or if you live in Southern Boone versus Northern Boone, do you still have the values of the people in the 4th? I mean, that, are you still representing their interests? And I think it's, right. Because last week some of these folks were in the 4th, we're in the 4th. So, I think certain candidates have a good argument that they can represent the district adequately. I think probably other candidates have a less good argument.
Because when somebody takes a crayon and draws lines on a map just because the lines have moved, and I agree with that sentiment, it doesn't mean because you change the lines, it doesn't mean I don't rep the values of the people. And do you have to live in the state of Missouri to run for a congressional? You don't have to live in the district.
You don't have to live in the district.
But you have to live in the state. We are tracking explosive gas prices overnight. In effect, if you're waking up this morning, folks been texting us. Thank you to some of our new friends this morning, 874-9390. We are seeing as high as $4.49 a gallon here in mid-Missouri. I'm going to check some of that out coming up at 7:10 here.
A focus on foreign policy. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Biden will take off today for Asia, going first to South Korea, where there's concern about all the recent North Korean missile tests.
We are preparing for all contingencies, including the possibility that such a provocation would occur while we are in Korea or in Japan.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who's also prepping the president for a meeting this morning before that trip with the presidents of Finland and Sweden, countries who've applied to join NATO.
The three leaders will also have the chance to compare notes on our united efforts to support Ukraine and its defense against Russia's brutal invasion.
Now, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv has reopened months after Americans left ahead of the invasion as a Russian soldier pleads guilty to war crimes, murdering a Ukrainian civilian.
And that guilty plea could very well complicate the fate of Ukrainian soldiers who are now surrendering at that steel plant in Mariupol.
After a long battle in that nearly destroyed city.
Many of them are with the Azov brigades, which Russia claims are far-right extremists and Nazis. Russia claims those fighters have committed war crimes. Ukraine has attempted to broker a prisoner exchange, but the surrendering fighters are being held in pretrial detention.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Lviv. The accused white gunman in the Buffalo supermarket massacre of 10 mostly black shoppers has a court hearing next hour.
New York State Attorney General Letitia James says her office will investigate social media outlets that had a part in spreading the Buffalo gunman's manifesto and allowing the killing of Buffalo residents to be streamed. In a statement, James said her hope is to shine a spotlight on their participation, not letting it go without consequence.
Fox's Gernal Scott, a gunman's on the run after last night's shooting at Middle Tennessee State University. Right after a high school graduation on the campus, one person killed, another critically injured. We've all woken up to another record at the gas pump. Regulars up 2 more cents. AAA's national average now just shy of $4.59 a gallon. America's listening to Fox News.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
After 9/11, Ben Harrow couldn't wait to enlist in the Army. But in Afghanistan, Ben stepped on an IED while leading an anti-terrorism mission. Ben survived, but lost both of his legs above the knee, 2 fingers, and sustained injuries to his right forearm. Ben now lives in a smart home from the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which gave him back his independence despite his severe physical challenges. Help heroes like Ben. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
.93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:03. Robinson saves you time. 63 our current temperature. We're expecting a high today in Columbia of around 86 degrees. Clear skies tonight with a low near 71. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Felony terrorist threat charges have been filed against a man for Tuesday's bomb threat at a Columbia KinderCare. ABC 17's Marina Diaz from our news partner KMIZ has reviewed CPD's probable cause statement on Alexander Green, who is still at large.
In the probable cause statement, police say that Alexander Green called Columbia KinderCare, confirmed its location, then told them, quote, "I put a bomb in your building to kill blank." Green said his son's name. The KinderCare then called the child's mother and confirmed Green's phone number with her. The mother stated that Green has been continually harassing her and her family, and that this is in line with his escalating behavior.
ABC 17's Marina Diaz reporting there from outside KinderCare on Ash Street in Columbia. Now, a judge here in Boone County has signed a no bond warrant for Green. Now, Green is either 25 or 26. No one really knows. It's unclear from the court document. We also don't know where he is from. It's unclear from the court document. The bomb threat forcing 97 people to be evacuated from KinderCare. If anyone has information on where Alexander Green is, you are urged to call the authorities. He is wanted this morning. Missouri's new congressional redistricting map approved by state lawmakers is now in effect after the governor signed it into law. Governor Parson telling Capitol reporters the new map meets Missouri's constitutional requirements. It splits Columbia in Boone County into 2 congressional districts. A Hartsburg man who is seeking the GOP nomination for West Central Missouri's 4th congressional district is critical of that new congressional map for splitting Columbia. Taylor Burke says Missouri's 4th largest city is being divided. He describes Columbia as mid-Missouri's cornerstone, and he's blaming this on the Senate Majority Leader, Caleb Rowden. He says Rowden failed to protect Boone County. Burks, during an interview, a live interview here on Wake Up Columbia, also blasted the Biden administration over the issue of inflation. He says the industries being impacted by inflation are the ones hardest hit by COVID.
Restaurants, hospitality, travel and leisure, these are the things that got cut and hurt hardest during COVID, and now this Biden recession is going to be affecting people that work in those industries and how Americans enjoy our lives.
You can hear our full interview with Mr. Burks on the website. It's 939theeagle.com. Missouri health officials in Jefferson City say that millions of Americans have chronic viral hepatitis and that many of them don't realize they have it. The State Department of Health and Senior Services is conducting free hepatitis C and HIV testing today at the Missouri Capitol in Jefferson City. It'll be on the south side of the Capitol. It's part of National Hepatitis Testing Day. It's a simple blood test, a finger stick. DHSS says the day's aim is to raise awareness and to encourage more residents to learn their status. If you're interested, it's a free event, 11 to 1 today, Missouri Capitol in Jefferson City. And a well-known developer here in mid-Missouri is predicting Lakeside Ashland's outdoor movie theater will be mid-Missouri's best place to watch either a movie or a concert when it opens.
Nick Parks has announced on Lakeside Ashland's Facebook page that they'll have a special event in July to benefit Tigers on the Prowl, which helps 6 mid-Missouri nonprofits. The movie screen has been put up at Lakeside Ashland. Other attractions will include a 700-foot-long zip line, which will take you 130 feet over a lake. They're also considering getting a Ferris wheel. Ashland continues to be one of the fastest-growing towns in mid-Missouri. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
All right, Don, thank you. And much more on this. We have a picture of the movie screen. Actually, it's the movie theater itself on our website, 939theeagle.com. They have not started construction yet on the zip line, and the Ferris wheel is still in the works. Our news is brought to you this morning by the Candy Factory in downtown Columbia. Anniversary, birthday, any day. Find them online, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. In sports, Mets beat the Cardinals last night in Queens by a score of 11-4. Max Scherzer, outstanding as normal on the mound, gets the win for New York. 5-1 on the year. Strikes out 4, gives up 7 hits. Cardinals and Mets wrap up their series today. Citi Field in Queens, day game. First pitch 12:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the White Sox last night at Kauffman Stadium 6-2. Bobby Witt Jr., MJ Melendez homering for the Royals are now 14-22. They're going to wrap up their 4-game series. Afternoon game at the K today, businessman special. First pitch 1:10 at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Hockey Blues in Colorado tonight, 8:30 our time. Late start at Ball Arena in Denver, and that game will be televised live on TNT. Colorado is up in the series 1-0, and that game will be again tonight. TNT on your television coverage. Sports brought to you by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:08. All right, John, thanks so much. Weather is brought to you this hour by Witt Print Shop. Your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. Clear sky, 63. 7:09 traffic check. MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job. Post your job opening today. Roads right now pretty quiet. Mid-Missouri, Bagnell Dam is still closed for the rest of this week at the Lake of the Ozarks. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, and 93.9 The Eagle.
When it was announced ahead of time that Biden was going to release so much energy from so many barrels of oil from the Spro, they're already come down. My guess is we'll see it come down, continue to come down, but how far down, I don't think anyone can tell.
I love positive news from Joe Biden this morning. Joe Biden telling us gas prices are coming down, and they're going to be coming down soon. So good. Oh, that was from 6 weeks ago? Oh, crap.
They've really come down a lot.
6 weeks ago.
Come down on our throats.
Oh, God. With spurs in the boots.
What did you say you saw it this morning, Hannah?
449 here on Grindstone in Columbia.
Oh, good
and that's
grief.
We're looking around mid-Missouri this morning. That's what we're saying. That's 449. And this happened, boom, like overnight. With a quickness. Started seeing some of the changes on the signs yesterday. Seeing a lot of 419s. 419 per gallon in God's country. God's country, according to Jared, Centralia and Hallsville. By the way, Hallsville's going to a 4-day school week. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
A lot of the schools that are doing that, all of them for that matter, are rural, smaller school districts. And it became a point of contention. A lot of Democratic lawmakers have criticized that. But to be fair here, let's point this out. That bill was signed into law by a Democratic governor, Jay Nixon. Republican bill, but Governor Nixon signed it into law. It simply gives the districts the option to do it. A lot of districts are doing it because they say the teachers want it, the students want it. And also it saves money on fuel, but now there's
I'd love a 4-day work. I'd love a 4-day work week too.
That's a huge issue, but that's what they're saying they're doing. Now the critics will say the kids should be in there 5 days a week, but it doesn't force them to do it, just gives them the option.
For those folks listening in Southern Boone, don't get any ideas. I like my 5-day school week.
I did when I was ski guide and zip line guide. You were 4 on, 3 off, and what the best schedule I've ever had in my life besides this one.
Well, I think it's crap anyways that somebody a long time ago decided we work for 5 days and then we get 2 days off. Like, why can't we, distribute that a little more evenly?
Yeah, Brandon, you can't get any ideas either. You have to be here on Feel Good Friday.
Who was the decider on that? Who did decide that? I wonder how that came about. Somebody said we're going to work 5 days a week, kind of as an American standard, and we're going to have 2 days off. Who decided that, I wonder?
Split.
Yeah, and there are all sorts of books like the 4-hour work week and ways to do efficiency. But I've had friends who I think it's in the summer, their business basically shuts off at noon on Fridays, which I always like. There's so many people going to the lake. You have to travel and to require, I think it's actually a good idea, and I think it probably really attracts some people to their business.
Feel Good Friday. This brain shuts down at 9 o'clock every Feel Good Friday.
It does. Sometimes even 8:40.
So Hallsville School District, one of the things they'll save on fuel costs, less time, one less day of running school buses, and plus recruitment apparently is a big issue.
Yeah, Layla Mitchell did a nice job last night. Layla was actually at the meeting and had it for our news partner, Channel 17, and talked to their spokesperson and basically paraphrasing what they said. But it was about recruitment. It's what the school wanted, what the teachers wanted, and that the districts around them, they mentioned Harrisburg and a couple of others, Higbee, have gone to this. So they're looking at doing this. Not this year. It would be the next year, this coming year.
And fuel costs, where we're seeing as much as $4.49. Dale, quick trip on Clark. Text in 874-9390. $4.49. Dylan says, pretty sure Henry Ford started the 5-day, 40-hour work week. Thank you.
I always knew I liked Chevy better. But no, Arnie on the text reminded me of something. When they list the gas prices, they always have and 0.9 cents. That really just kills me. I'm like, we're already paying $4.49. Now I got to worry about 0.9 cents. Just call it $4.50.
Yeah. Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
Excellent point. So Hallsville School District going to right now seems to be a smart move. Gas prices, the way they were, kind of just blowing up overnight. And if you're a new texter, if you're seeing something $4.49 or higher, or seeing something $4.19 is about the cheapest we're seeing. I think there might be a straggler or two at $3.98 a gallon. We feel your pain. And here's the thing. So, because we pay those same gas prices too. So do your bosses, by the way. Hey, boss, I would like to have an increase in my pay for 2 reasons. Number one, I've worked really hard, and I am committed to you. Will you commit to me and give me a raise? Plus, everything's expensive. Well, guess what? Everything's expensive for your boss, too. So guess what your boss is doing? In a lot of situations, they're going and they're raising prices to their customers, and then those circular stupidity. Man, let's move on to something a little bit more positive. That's where we are this morning. By the way, George W. Bush kind of making news this morning. He made a gaffe yesterday, which that's what George W. Bush would do. Got his words misunderestimated and stuff, and I do the same thing. But it's what he said that was like, oh man, if you're gonna make a gaffe, that's the worst place in time to do it. But I do want to get to something here pretty quickly. Gary, checking in gas prices. What's up, Gary?
Well, Biden will be right. They will come down with the recession, and then just so you know, all our big businesses are starting to talk about laying people off because of the inflation. Their costs are rising too much, and it's coal, nuclear, everything. Coal, nuclear, gas, oil, lithium have all gone up 400%.
Gary, let me ask you this real quick. Gas prices the way they are, have you changed? Have you cut back spending on anything? Have you changed anything?
Well, no, because it...
All right, Gary, thank you for the phone call. 874-9390. This happened on the show recently. The news director of the entire Zimmer Radio Network giggle. Yes. Then I that's one of our goals. If Amen. We can make our almost Les Nessman. You know who Les Nessman is?
Nope.
Big name.
You know who Les Nessman is?
Johnny Fever's sidekick.
Yeah, you know who Johnny Fever is?
Nope.
No.
WKRP in Cincinnati, TV show from the late 70s and early 80s. If you were to look up pictures right now of Les Nessman, WKRP.
He's awesome.
You gave Brian the giggles.
I love that guy.
This guy's a meme.
He had
I
a
know
lot
this
of
guy.
He had a lot of awards. I remember that.
Just like, I hope you are watching on YouTube right now. By the way, great. If you ever watch on YouTube, it's great. You get to see when Brian Hauswirth, the news director of the Zimmer Radio Network, gets the giggles. It's it's one of those things, you'll watch it on YouTube and it kind of makes you smile. But I wanted to highlight that. But one of our listeners texted, says Brian Hauswirth is no Les Nessman, because how many Silver Buckeye Awards do you have?
I don't have exactly. I can't say I have one, but Representative Chuck Basie happened to be listening to that and got a real big kick out of that. I saw him at the Capitol the other day.
So I wanted to bring that up. Apparently somebody saw you pulling out your roll cart of all the awards you won at the Zimmer Radio Network award show last week and said, Brian, why don't you come down? Why don't you come to Jefferson City and MC this really big, lovely event today? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's going to be, and of course they reached out to me well before that. It was sometime this spring. It is the Jefferson City Branden Police Ball and Awards. Basically, it's an awards and valor awards that they're going to be doing, and they have not been able to do this in, I want to say the last year was 2018 because of the tornado, and then you had the COVID. So there's going to be awards that date back to 2019, 2020, 2021 that are going to be presented tonight. I can't really go into that because they haven't announced who's going to be honored, but I can tell you the stories are incredible, and they literally do date back to the tornado. So that'll be in Jeff City tonight, and they expect a huge crowd for that, and I'm looking forward to it. It's always a pleasure to get to Jefferson City, and looking forward to that. But some pretty powerful stories will be told tonight.
Yeah, it's and I appreciate you doing that, because if you're watching on YouTube, I wear my Back the Blue bracelet. I support my sister, who's a chief police in a small town along a city in here off of I-70. So I appreciate that you're doing that, and anybody who is a first responder, firefighters, volunteer EMTs, police officers, man, please know we love the heck out of you here on 93.9 The Eagle.
Dispatchers will also be brought up tonight as well. So, yeah, it should be a great event.
The dispatchers, recently we toured the emergency operations or emergency communications center in Boone County, what the 911 operators do. They also do remarkable work.
Absolutely.
874-9390, 874-9390, 449, 409 at one gas station. Apparently, Tony in Booneville. Shows 409 at a Casey's in Booneville. 449, we're seeing a lot of places. Gas prices out of nowhere. Boom. Overnight. Leslie, we're kind of asking, so with everything being expensive, what are you cutting back on? What are you doing? And I love this from Leslie this morning off the text, 874-9390.
I do. She said, Brandon, I now carpool with my husband to Columbia every day, and believe me, it's a sacrifice.
Chuck, welcome into Wake Up Columbia. I got about 30 seconds. What can we do for you, buddy?
Well, I was talking to my cousin yesterday who lives in Sheraton, Iowa, home of Hy-Vee, and he said up there the Hy-Vee, which employs probably 80% of that town, just fired 100-plus employees. They said were non-essential because of the current economic situation.
It's so sad, and this is how, and I hope, thank you, Chuck, because you've helped us draw a line from point A to point B to any new listeners of Wake Up Columbia this morning. That's how it works. Somebody went to the polls, they voted for Joe Biden. Everybody, all the smart people said, here's what's going to happen, and now it's happening. And so not only, and it's not just you paying more for gas prices, everything's going up, then it affects all these other people, and then it comes back and it affects you again. And it's circular, and it will keep coming back, and it will keep dinging you. Coming up, we're going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah this morning. What do you have for us today, Hannah?
Well, this Florida man, right? You know it's going to be a good story. He thought he was on to something, and the feds said no.
Speaking of a Florida man, Mark is listening on the text this morning in Florida, from the beaches in Florida. He's paying $4.69 in Florida on the beach. Doesn't specifically say what town. $4.69 in Florida. Florida man, that's What's Hot with Hannah. Today we'll do that 7:25-ish here on 93.9 The Eagle. Good morning.
pro-pumping.
Download the 93.9 The Eagle app and listen to Wake Up Columbia everywhere. It's easy to do. Geez, even Branden figured it out. 93.9 The Eagle.
What do you say a woman is?
I believe that everyone can identify for themselves.
Do you believe then that men can become pregnant and have abortions?
Yes.
Amy Arambidi, she is the executive director of the abortion rights nonprofit in Texas, testifying Capitol Hill yesterday, was asked by Representative Dan Bishop, can men get pregnant? Yes. Nina Jankowicz, who's apparently they're doing away with the disinformation board. Nina Jankowicz has not fact-checked that yet, but I'm sure as soon as they do fact-check it, they will find that no, indeed, men scientifically cannot. You know what we should do? Randy Tobler, who happens to be a doctor, he hosts the Randy Tobler Show weekdays 4 to 6 here on 93.9 The Eagle. I'll ask him if he's ever tended to a man who's given birth to a baby. Maybe we check with him this morning. Right now, 7:25-ish, which means it's
still 7:28.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
You know it's going to be a good story because it starts with a Florida man. What is it about the people in Florida that they make the best news?
Because it's exceedingly hot and humid there, and there's a lot of crazy there.
Well, there you go. And it's alligators, right?
It's the alligators. It's those other animals in Florida that can kill you, sharks, snakes, etc.
Well, this Florida man is a criminal. He's facing federal charges for fraud. He had a fake charitable organization that he was committing all sorts of fraudulent activities with. He said, how do I get myself out of these federal charges? I know. I am going to create a fake letter from former President Trump saying that I'm pardoned of all my crimes. That'll work.
Gotta love the initiative.
Yeah. The feds didn't buy it, unfortunately, for this gentleman.
But I got a letter. Trump signed it. I got it right here.
Points for creativity.
Yeah, I mean, people say criminals are dumb. I feel like that's kind of smart.
And that is What's Hot with Hannah. We do it every morning at 7:25-ish here on 93.9 The Eagle. Mark Alford, fourth congressional district candidates, joining us about 5 minutes from now. We have in our hands new Eric Greitens polling numbers. I should say new Senate polling numbers for the GOP primary. That's coming up at 7:50.
Four out of 10 people are scared of the dentist. Willett Dental Associates practices conscious sedation dentistry to relax those fears. Make an appointment now at WillettDentalAssociates.com.
Fox News, I'm Steve Rappaport. The House approving a domestic terrorism bill in response to the fatal shooting of 10 black people at a grocery store in Buffalo. Senate Democrats plan to vote on the measure next week. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
We hope our Republican colleagues will understand how important this is given what's going on in the country.
Republicans say the legislation does not do enough to address far-left extremism. The suspect is due in court next hour. Gas prices hit another record high. AAA reporting a national average of nearly $4.59 for a gallon of regular.
The White House insists it is working to bring prices down, but it says the problem still rests with Russia. But rising prices extend well beyond the gas pump. Now, two of America's wealthiest people say Washington's to blame. Billionaires Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are both criticizing the president's fiscal policy.
Fox's Mark Meredith in Washington. America is listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31, 65 clear skies in Columbia. We're expecting a high today of around 85. Clear tonight with a low near 71. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. In this 7 o'clock hour, Boone County prosecutors have filed felony charges against a man who is suspected of calling in this week's bomb threat to the Columbia KinderCare on Ash. Alexander Scott Green is charged with 2 felonies this morning, terrorist threat and harassment. A judge has set a no-bond warrant at this time. However, Green has not been captured as of yet. It's unclear where he is from, and his age is unclear, too. He's either 25 or 26. If anyone knows where Alexander Scott Green is, you're urged to call the authorities as soon as possible. Again, they are searching for him as we speak. Meantime, Missouri's new congressional redistricting map approved by lawmakers is now in effect. The governor signed it into law. The new map will be used for the midterms this year. Governor Mike Parson tells Capitol reporters the new map meets Missouri's constitutional requirements. It does split Columbia-Boone County into 2 districts. Bipartisan legislation aimed at eminent domain reform is now on the governor's desk after receiving final approval from lawmakers. Supporters say the bill says Missouri is open for economic development, but it won't come on the backs of Missouri's farmers. Representative Chuck Basie of Roachport, a bill supporter.
One of the guys I really enjoy working with, Mike Hafner, Representative Hafner from Cass County, he's put an awful lot of effort behind that. And when we finally got that done, he was just giddy.
And Department of Health offering free rapid hepatitis C and HIV testing today. Capital 11 to 1. News brought to you by WillettDentalAssociates.com. 7:33. In sports, the Mets beat the Cardinals last night in Queens by a score of 11-4. The Mets had a home run and 4 RBIs from Pete Alonso in the ballgame. Now, there were some pitches that were thrown inside by both of the teams. Umpires did some warnings in this game, but in the end, the Mets just had a lot of offense offensively, and Scherzer did great on the mound as well. 11-4, the final. Scherzer gets the win for the Mets, 5-1 on the year, 4 strikeouts, 7 hits. Cardinals and Mets wrap up their series with a day game today. First pitch 12:10 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the White Sox at the K last night 6-2. Melendez and Bobby Witt Jr. homering for Kansas City. They're now 14-22. They're going to wrap up their series. Afternoon ball today at the K. First pitch 1:10 in Kansas City. And in playoff hockey, the Blues are at Colorado tonight. 8:30 will be the start. That game will be on TNT, the national television partner from Ball Arena in Denver. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Atterbury Auction, Mid-Missouri's most trusted online auction. Visit AtterburySells.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Our roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you would like to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text at 573-874-9390. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
We have more oil than anybody, okay? And it's an incredible thing that it's happened over the last few years, a lot of great things, and you're paying, what, $2 a gallon for your gasoline? That's okay. You know what that's like? That's like a tax cut. That's bigger than a tax cut. If Biden got in, you'd be paying $7, $8, $9. Didn't they say, get rid of your car?
Trump was right. We were all right. That was Trump the night before the election, 2020. If Biden gets into office, this is what's going to happen. And here we are in mid-Missouri. Gas prices as high that we've seen is $4.49. Michael texting in 874-9390. Moberly Highway 24, Casey's there, $4.09 per gallon. What are you seeing? Let us know, 874-9390, especially if you are if you've never texted Wake Up Columbia before here on the show. We would love to hear from you. What do you see in gas prices or really anything else on your mind? I want to welcome back into the show 4th District Congressional candidate Mark Alford. A lot of years in TV in the Kansas City area, has done a lot for various charitable organizations, churches, civic organizations, really entrenched in his community for a lot of years. Mark, welcome back. First thing I want to ask you is kind of on a personal level, gas prices going up, cost of beef, everything going up. I want to ask about you and your family. Like, is there something that you guys have had to cut out or scale back on because of what's happened since January 20th of 2021?
Oh, first off, hi, Branden, Stephanie, Brian. Good to be with you again. And, it is just unbelievable what this president has done to our country in just the short time that he's been in office. I've said for a couple of weeks now, the F-150 is a model of a truck. It shouldn't be what it costs to fill it up. But unfortunately, when you go to fill up, that's about what you're spending. We have some serious issues in this problem in this country. It's been one crisis after another with this president. One thing that my wife and I, we're empty nesters now. My kids are 26, 28, and 30. And so they're on their own. So we're not having to worry about, the big grocery bills that we once did. But we'd really cut back on going out. And we like going out and socializing with people and taking people out to dinner and meeting them. But we've had to cut back on that. Part of that's due to the campaign, of course, and our busy schedule, but just finances to begin with. Things are going up exponentially in restaurants. They're having trouble finding people to work, and so that's stretching the staff and their level of service. But one of the big factors is the economy and just how much things are costing. I'm not working now. I quit this job after 23 years, so I don't have that income. And so we've cut back, and this is affecting everyone. This thing with the baby formula is just unreal. And for the president to wait that long, and now we have moms. I've got a good friend who's working on our campaign. His daughter just had a baby, and they have a 2-week supply left of baby formula, and she is begging people to help find baby formula for her because her baby needs it.
Yep. As a matter of fact, we had on the show yesterday a young lady, Lizzie Denzel, and she's organized a local Facebook page so parents can say, hey, they're taking pictures in grocery stores in mid-Missouri. Hey, here's where baby formula is. So that's somebody getting involved and doing a great job. And I'll go back to these are not campaign talking points. These are not conservative talk points. The gas prices and the real life consequences of a Biden presidency. These are real things. They are hurting people. This is what happens. This is how it's all playing out. Mark Alford, running for the fourth. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and also the disingenuousness and the hypocrisy and the gaslighting by President Biden and his administration. Why are we sending baby formula on pallets down to the border? I just got back from the border. I was down there last week. I've been to the border 3 times, unlike the President of the United States and Kamala Harris. I wanted to go down and see exactly what was happening because a lot of the drugs that are coming through Mexico are ending up in Missouri and killing our young people. And it's ridiculous that we are stockpiling baby formula for illegal aliens who come across and we keep here rather than having adequate supply for our nation's mothers.
And what's been disturbing is to see how the progressives try to talk that away. Well, we're not doing it. Yes, there is plenty of formula. And, well, the fact check is by law we have to provide that. Well, and it's a bold law that we have to do that. People breaking the law coming into the country, we can't take care of our own kids here. I want to ask you, we do have some good questions for you this morning. Regarding your race here in Missouri.
Yeah, just yesterday, I think one of your opponents issued a release saying, hey, if you don't live in the district, you should get out of the race. And now, the governor signed the map yesterday, and we know the line. Right. So first question is, do you live in the district? And second question is, do you agree that if you don't live in the district, you should get out of the race?
No, I do not. I can only guess who put out that statement, and that's okay. Under the Constitution, you only have to live in the state in which you represent the district. I'm about 5 or 6 miles north of the current district, but we have been planning to move for some time. But I know the snakes in the Senate did not want us in this race, and so we were waiting until the map was released and signed by the governor before we actually make a contract on a house to move into the district. We met with a builder yesterday. We're very close to doing that now that we have a settled map, and we are committed to moving in the district.
You'll move to the district. We appreciate your time, Mr. Alford. I want to ask about, if you look at this district, it's changed a little bit in that they have split Columbia and Boone County. That obviously is a big split. Cooper and Montauk County now would go to the 3rd for the next election, but the 4th becomes even more Republican. From what I'm looking at, even more Republican than it already is. And the 2 bases are still there. So you got Whiteman and you've got Fort Leonard Wood that would be in the base. As I look at your campaign a platform, basically what you're saying is that we must support as a nation veterans once they come home with good mental health services. What would you like to see done? What do you have in mind there, sir?
Good question. My good friend, you may not have known this if you don't live in the area, but my good friend Don Harmon took his life. He was our weather guy and my sidekick and one of my best friends. Mm-hmm. That happened 10 and a half years ago. And before that really happened, people did, well, in my circle anyway, we didn't really talk about mental health issues, and particularly suicide. It was kind of a taboo subject, even though it's been going on for, since mankind. But it really wasn't brought to the forefront. And we started a campaign at our TV station based on my eulogy for Don. He didn't feel like he mattered, which was kind of odd, the most popular TV personality here in town. And he did matter, and God had a plan and purpose for his life. And through that, we started a campaign called You Matter, helping people with mental crisis and giving them alternatives and giving them resources. And I think we need to do a better job of doing that with our veterans. We have 21 veterans a day take their own lives in America. That is reprehensible. The greatest nation ever, and 21 of our finest men and women succumb to suicide. We need to do a better job of funding mental health care for our veterans.
I'm going to follow up on one other thing. And I know you've also talked to us, Mr. Alford, about law and order and about crime. There is your platform is this: stop violent criminals from walking the streets. There is a case in Northwest Missouri, just outside of your district. It would be the district you're running in, but your old station reported yesterday, WDAF. There's a guy that just got out of prison in Oklahoma. It's on WDAF, folks, if you want to take a look at this. I mean, the case is absolutely horrendous. Gets out of prison in Oklahoma, goes up, meets a girl on a dating app up and around Lathrop, and Mark, he is accused of torturing her for 2 days, beating her so severely, kicking her with steel boots in the head. She has brain damage. Her teeth were all kicked out. And then she is in critical condition at a hospital. And the sheriff was on TV up there, and he said that we knew this was going to happen. He has been in and out of trouble forever. He has assaulted police officers. Your reaction to that story?
I did not see that story, but that is, it's not right. What we are doing in our criminal justice system, some of the liberal judges who are going along with this woke broke culture, bowing to the woke mobs who are demanding that they go more lenient on criminals and let them out earlier with bond reductions and getting rid of the cash bail situations. We've got to do a better job of keeping criminals behind bars, build the structures that we need to keep the people who really belong behind bars without exception.
Mark Alford joining us here this morning on Wake Up Columbia. By the way, where are you? Because it sounds incredibly lovely, man. I'm loving this. We can hear we're isolated in this soundproof multi-million-dollar studio. And where are you?
I am over on the Kansas side this morning. I attend this may sound a little weird to you, but I attend a weekly Bible study at 7 o'clock for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, although I'm not an athlete, but there's a bunch of friends here, former older Chiefs players that I've come to know over the years. And I attend here, so I stepped out to do this interview. So I'm outside under the big oak trees with the robins and the blue jays.
I love that. And I'm wondering, people walking by and saying, what the heck's that guy doing over there on the cell phone underneath the oak tree in Kansas? Mark, I want to ask you this because I think we've talked to you and Kalina Bruce, Taylor Burks, Mr. Irwin, and I think there's some really good candidates, and you are amongst those candidates. And we know everybody's displeased. Biden voters are displeased and regretful that they voted for Biden. But when you're talking to people, what about you? How are you separating yourself from people like Kalina Bruce, Taylor Burks, Mr. Irwin?
We've got a lot of great people in this race. Sarah Walsh, dropped out. Brilliant lady, full of integrity, and I really respect her decision for getting out. But the way that I separate myself is that I am going to be the strongest, loudest, most consistent voice for Missouri's rural conservatives in the U.S. House. For too long, the strongest voices out of Missouri and D.C. and in the national media have been from St. Louis and Kansas City, that being Emmanuel Cleaver and Cori Bush. And I tell people, folks, that is not the true voice of Missouri. You are the true voice of Missouri. I want to be your voice, the strongest voice, not just in D.C., but in the national media as well, telling the stories of farmers who are belabored by overregulation of the EPA, telling the stories of small towns like Osceola that need more jobs and more people to come in there to keep that town alive, telling the stories of Whiteman Air Force Base, a prestigious base that's been around for decades that we need to keep going and properly funded. So I am uniquely positioned as a professional communicator with 35 years of experience in the media to tell those stories and to be the voice. When our founding fathers set up the House of Representatives, it was not meant for politicians to leapfrog their way from one office to the next, end up in Washington, serve some terms there, maybe go to another office and end up a lobbyist making millions of dollars. That's not what it's about. It's about ordinary people, butchers and bakers and teachers and lawyers and, yes, even TV anchors, to go represent the voice of the people. It's not my will. It's not my agenda. It's the people's agenda. And that's what a representative is supposed to do, and that's why I'm the strongest candidate in this race.
4th District congressional candidate Mark Alford, longtime voice on TV in Kansas City, wants to be your voice in Washington, D.C. Somebody wants to get behind you here in this area. Website.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's alfordforcongress.com, alfordforcongress.com. We've got like 2 months left in this thing, and we are traveling all over the district. Now that we have the map, it's going to be very easy to pinpoint those places that we have not been that need to be. We want to go out and listen. I'm going out with my phone and my notepad, and I listen to people. That's another thing that sets me apart. Some of my competition has said, hey, you don't need to be listening to people. You need to just be telling them what you think. A politician tells people what they want to hear. A leader listens to people and reacts, and that's what I am. That's the difference. I'm a leader. I am not a politician, one of the only that is not a politician in this race. And so we're going to all the different counties. We're doing it's called Mark on the Square. We get people to meet there. I interview them and tell their stories and document so I can take with me to Washington and the national media the stories of rural Missouri.
Mark Alford, thank you very much. And when you see Duran Sherry today, tell him Branden and the Lake of the Ozark story. Branden from 93.9 The Eagle in Columbia, Missouri, and the houseboat story in the Lake of the Ozarks. He'll know what you mean. Have a great day, sir.
You too, guys. Thank you. God bless you.
All right. See you. Coming up, polling numbers for the Missouri Senate race. And it's unlike numbers that we have seen up to this point. It's coming up about 5 minutes from now.
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room full of microphones. 93.9 The Eagle.
The people are very supportive of President Trump, and the more Joe Biden's in office, the more they remember those halcyon days of the Trump administration.
We know it's bad on Biden. That is Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. Stephanie's been she's been hawkish on this morning over the past 2 days now, trying to determine what's happening in Pennsylvania. Still nothing out of there yet, and it's a matter of over 1 million people. I think almost
1.3. I think
1.3 million people voted in the separation in votes.
1,700.
That is razor thin. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Columbia. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And do want to let you know, tomorrow, Feel Good Friday, on all kinds of things, including nominating. We're picking winners and losers of the week. We'll do that tomorrow, 8:35. Let's go pole dancing. Latest polls. Some substantial polls for what they're worth. In our U.S. Senate race, Schmidt, Hartzler, McCloskey, Greitens, and we're seeing something really that we haven't seen in any reliable polling for the first time.
Yeah, I was shocked by this. So Long picking up steam. Billy Long's got 7. Any ideas? Who would you guess would have been leading after the recent news?
Schmidt, Hartzler, Schmidt.
Yeah, they're actually separated by 6 points. Schmidt's at 17, Hartzler's at 11. But running away with it is Greitens at 26. So this poll has Greitens at a +9, up from Schmidt. That's shocking to me. And the distance between Schmidt and Hartzler is also shocking to me.
And this is a KMOV TV, CBS affiliate in St. Louis. KMOV TV Survey USA shows right now latest primary polling in our U.S. Senate race has Greitens in the lead, +9 over the next person in line. 9 points. Long picking up a little bit of steam, and Mark McCloskey, who's like the salt and pepper in this race.
He's only at 2, and I'm actually surprised by that as well. You talking to him, I think he makes good points. I think he's polished.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised that he's still sitting that low.
And again, I think really they are all really, really good candidates.
I wouldn't say all.
Who would you exclude? Well, there are 34 candidates, so we've got 5 or 6 solid candidates out of the 118. I think it's 30-something in there. Coming up, Randy Tobler is going to be joining us at 8:10.
Court date in Buffalo. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News. In about a half hour, Peyton Gendron appears before a judge. He's the white accused gunman in Saturday's shooting that left 10 people dead, 3 wounded, almost all of them black.
Weapons designed for battlefields should not be used to execute people shopping for groceries.
Democratic New York Governor Kathy Hochul wants stricter gun laws and a probe into social media. The plot was revealed a half hour ahead of time, and the shooting was live streamed.
Hochul signing 2 executive orders. One adding a unit focused on fighting domestic terrorism, and the other will require state police to file an order of protection when they see a high-risk case.
Fox's Alexis McAdams in Buffalo. There's a search for a killer the morning after a shooting at Middle Tennessee State University following a high school graduation there.
One victim is deceased and the other is injured and in critical but stable condition.
Rutherford County Sheriff Sergeant Dan Goodwin. In court in Ukraine, a Russian soldier who already pleaded guilty in the first war crimes case testified today he was following orders when he shot and killed a Ukrainian civilian. This hour, President Biden meets with the leaders of Finland and Sweden, who's applied to NATO. All 30 nations in the military alliance have to approve that. Right now, Turkey is a no, but National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says,
I expect these differences will be settled. I expect that NATO will speak with one voice in support of Finland and Sweden at the end of the day.
After his meeting, the president will jet to Asia on a trip to South Korea and Japan. Gas at another record high this morning. AAA's national average for regular now almost $4.59 per gallon.
JP Morgan warning prices will surpass $6 nationwide by August. Hard not to get nervous about this when the gas station chain 76 is reportedly now reprogramming its pumps in Washington State to sell $10 gas, getting ready for double digits.
Fox's Aisha Hasni. America's listening to Fox News.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
Run, walk, honor. The Tunnel to Towers 5K Run and Walk in New York City retraces FDNY firefighter Stephen Siller's final footsteps on 9/11. That single event has inspired more than 70 runs, walks, and climbs in different cities across the nation each year. Register for an event in your area or volunteer to start one. Do good and never forget by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. 8:03 is our time. Robinson saves you time. 67 in Columbia, 66 degrees in Jefferson City. We're expecting sunshine today. There's a possibility of scattered storms. Most of these are going to be just south of the Jefferson City area today. I think we're going to be okay today. We'll keep an eye on it. Our high 85. Clear tonight, low near 71. Now, there is a chance of storms tomorrow. We'll pay closer attention as we get better models. Our high tomorrow, 88 degrees. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Felony terrorist threat charges have been filed this morning against a man for Tuesday's bomb threat at a Columbia KinderCare, and the man is still at large. ABC 17's Marina Diaz has been on the story since the bomb threat happened. She's been reviewing court documents in the case involving a man named Alexander Green.
In the probable cause statement, police say that Alexander Green called Columbia KinderCare, confirmed its location, then told them, quote, I put a bomb in your building to kill blank. Green said his son's name. The KinderCare then called the child's mother and confirmed Green's phone number with her. The mother stated that Green has been continually harassing her and her family, and that this is in line with his escalating behavior.
ABC 17's Marina Diaz reporting there from KinderCare on Ash Street. The bomb threat forced 97 people to be evacuated from KinderCare. A judge here in Boone County has signed a no-bond warrant for the 25 or 26-year-old Green. That means when he is captured, he will not be released on bond. We have more on his case, 939theeagle.com. Missouri's governor says the new congressional redistricting map he signed on Wednesday meets our constitutional requirements. The governor notes it maintains a 6-2 GOP majority, says under the new map, district populations are equally proportional and district boundaries are contiguous. Those are the two key conditions required by the state constitution. New map does split Columbia and Boone County into 2 congressional districts. A Hartsburg man who is seeking the GOP nomination for West Central Missouri's 4th District is critical of the new congressional map for splitting Columbia. Taylor Burke says Columbia is Missouri's 4th largest city, and he says it should not be divided. He says GOP Senate Majority Leader Caleb Rowden failed to protect Boone County.
When Columbia gets split in half, that means our federal legislators, who already don't come here often enough, are just going to ignore Boone County. And so, Caleb needs to own that.
Leader Rowden has said the legislature needed to get this map passed before last Friday's adjournment. Rowden has noted the courts would have drawn the map if it had not happened. Burks is one of 7 candidates seeking the 4th District GOP nomination in August. He was also said other critical things about Caleb Rowden regarding how he did this. You can hear all of that on our website, 939theeagle.com. Missouri health officials say millions of Americans have chronic viral hepatitis. Most don't realize it. DHS conducting free hepatitis C and HIV testing today at the Missouri Capitol in Jefferson City. 11 to 1. It's all part of National Hepatitis Testing Day. A well-known developer predicts Lakeside Ashland's outdoor movie theater will be mid-Missouri's best place to watch a movie or a concert. They're making progress on that. They're going to have an event in July for Tigers on the Prowl. We have a new picture up on our website, 939theeagle.com. They're also going to build a zip line at that location to take you 130 feet over a lake, and they're looking at building a Ferris wheel. We've heard from several listeners who say that Ashland could use a Ferris wheel. They're also going to have a beach. A beach will be at that location as well, along with a splash pool. Other projects are planned as well. 939theeagle.com. Much more details. Our news is brought to you this morning by Dr. Kent Willett Dental Associates. WillettDentalAssociates.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. In sports, Mets beat the Cardinals last night in Queens by a score of 11-4. Max Scherzer now 5-1. He gets the win for New York. 4 strikeouts in the game. Workmanlike gave up 7 hits, but he got the outs when he needed them. Cardinals and the Mets wrapping up their series today. A day game, first pitch 12:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Royals beat the White Sox last night at Kauffman Stadium 6-2. Melendez and Witt homering for Kansas City. They are now 14-22 on the year. They'll play again today. They'll wrap up their series at Kauffman, first pitch at 1:10. And the Blues really need a win tonight, if at all possible. NHL playoff second round. Blues in Colorado. Avalanche won the opening game of the series 3-2 in overtime. Game 2 tonight, 8:30 on TNT. Cosmo, our colleague on Y107, points out that basically the Jumbotron, if you will, is kind of the NFL version of the Dallas Cowboys there at Ball Arena. He said it's the largest one, basically blue line to blue line. So you may notice that on your television. Pretty impressive arena there, Ball Arena in Denver. Our news time, 8:08. And our weather is brought to you this hour by WillettDentalAssociates.com. Clear sky, 67. It's 8:08, 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Traffic with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to report a traffic issue, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
And I am eligible for it because I'm verified. But there are a lot of people who shouldn't be verified who aren't, legit, in my opinion. I mean, they are real people, but they're not trustworthy. Anyway, so verified people can essentially start to edit Twitter the same sort of way that Wikipedia is, so they can add context to certain tweets.
Because the government will be the decider on what the truth is. DHS quickly doing away with this misinformation, disinformation board. Ideally, that's what they're doing because they're going, Again, I go back to us smart people because that freedom of speech and stuff like that apparently coming to an end. And then to say, well, and then here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it, like Wikipedia. That's ridiculous. Randy Tobler popping in early this morning, host of the Randy Tobler Show. He's here weekdays 4 to 6 on 93.9 The Eagle. First, so the whole premise of this thing left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and I don't think you care really what side of the political aisle was on. There was a lot of distaste. And this is something like what you do on your show in your social media. By the way, did you see your Facebook page this morning?
I didn't. Did I forget to log out again?
Yeah, you should probably, if you get a chance, get Ms. Tobler to check that out while we visit. But I posted something onto your Facebook page this morning.
I need this is scary. This is scary, Brandon.
So now I didn't check with Nina Jankowicz to make sure that it was true. As the decider of truth, but I put on there, I put a link to the Wake Up Columbia video feed from YouTube, and I put, hey, listen to my favorite morning show, Wake Up Columbia, and I didn't fact check with whether or not that we are indeed your favorite morning show.
Well, absolutely.
Right.
And when I'm talking to Gary after you, he'll be my favorite morning show, too.
I have taken a screenshot of the post, so we can always remember that Randy called us his favorite.
You are my favorite morning show. You know that. Love you guys. And I always listen every morning. You know that. I listen faithfully, probably more faithfully than your dad even, Brandon. What's that saying?
That says a lot. So I want to ask you, you host the afternoon show here on 93.9 The Eagle, and we've got this, the government will decide what the truth is. What you do here on 93.9 The Eagle, I'm guessing, was incredibly disturbing to you. Because we got
Look, I think we've been talking about privacy over the last couple of weeks as it applies to the misapplied concept of privacy and abortion. I think most folks on right-leaning radio, agree that there's probably no connection. This is not a privacy issue. This is a totally different issue. But privacy is something, you're right, both sides of the aisle, even apolitical people, protect their privacy as probably one of the highest priorities in life, right? And when the thoughts that you have expressed publicly, but still your private thoughts, get edited, get censored, you get canceled, it's bad enough by a private company, which we can argue whether they have the right or not. But when the government is going to decide, what you're thinking and posting, and they're becoming aware of, that's a real intrusion. It's almost like illegal search and seizure from where I'm coming from. And so I don't know. Stephanie Bell is, of course, our constitutional expert here, but I think that is the most that the Truth Ministry Board that now is on pause, and Jankovic needs to go to Broadway and do a tryout for the next production of Chorus Line. I'm glad, because this was a prime example of we the people protecting our privacy, our rights of free speech, and our illegal search and seizure rights. So I'm all about it.
Well, and it sounds like the Attorney General, who has put up this First Amendment fight against this disinformation board, said even though it might be on pause, his lawsuit is not. So we've got him still in court on those issues. And, not to borrow a line from the Gary Nolan show, but I think for me, it's that, the government thinks we're too stupid to read Twitter and decide for ourselves what the truth is, right? And it just, it's frustrating.
I think it's come to enough of a fevered pitch that even Elon Musk says he's going to vote GOP for probably the first time in his life. And he's now calling out, did I say Branden? Well,
just about. You just about.
Branden with an O. He's calling out Joe Biden. And that's a sea change in terms of a high-profile public figure. so if people like that are willing to speak out, you know that we, the people, have an effect on what they, the Washington, D.C. swamp creatures, are thinking. It's beginning to have an influence.
Let me ask you this. We just got our hands on some new polling, and this is very different than what is from reliable. I always say for what polling is worth, but from reliable polling sources, our 2022 U.S. Senate race, this is from our CBS friends, our CBS affiliate in St. Louis, KMOV-TV, and Survey USA. Most of the reliable polling, Schmidt, Hartzler, Hartzler, Schmidt, Schmidt, Hartzler. The one this morning shows Greitens with a 9-point lead over Schmidt. My immediate reaction, listen, I don't think there is any conservative, any smart person among us that does not like the political mind of Eric Greitens. We like his politics. There's a lot of baggage that can be a problem in a general election. That's a real concern. But for the first time ever in reliable polling, Greitens with a sizable lead, less than 3 months from the primary. What could that be that people are saying, okay, yeah, we do like Greitens?
I don't know. I mean, I think we have a very fired up and highly ideological Republican base in Missouri, and I honor that. I really do. On the other hand, I think we've had plenty of examples in the last 20 years where sometimes, the enemy of better is best, or the enemy of good is better. And we need to potentially think about not winning our personal or ideological battle, but winning the war for conservatism and moving the needle back towards the center from it's so far left that the fuel gauge is on empty when it comes to any kind of reasonable, rational governance in many places, especially in D.C. And so I don't think we can get back to those constitutional founding principles in one election. We need to move it closer and closer and incrementally move back. At least that's my theory. I just would hate to – I don't know how – I haven't seen polls, and maybe I just have missed them. Have you, where they post various, Schmidt versus the likely Dem or the generic Democratic opponent, Hartzler, Greitens. I wonder how that would look.
Yeah, so that data actually came out today, and they said Greitens, I think this is – while the overall poll is surprising, I don't think this is surprising. Greitens is only +6 against either Kuntz or Bush-Valentine, but Schmidt is at 12 and 13 and Hartzler 14 and 11. So it looks like, Greitens would put the race, really in play. +6 is...
Well, it depends. You'd have to look into that poll, and I'd want to drill down and see who did the poll. Was it likely voters? Was it registered voters? I mean, a lot of that could influence how a poll's results come out. But I don't know. Character matters to me, and I maybe it's because of what I do for a living. I'm just really a guy that's so brazenly disfaithful to his wife. I understand people can have disagreements. But that kind of behavior tells me something about a person's character. And I know we don't elect pastors. I know we don't elect saints. But I'm a character guy, and perhaps that's a flaw I have in terms of my personal feelings. But, there is some threshold at which even GOP voters won't tolerate character flaws.
Madison Cawthorn.
Primary example, Madison Cawthorn, right? I mean, where is that threshold? We talked about it last night, and we'll talk about it again today, I'm sure.
So you got sometimes a little bit of crazy is good, but then sometimes, you went over the line. Too much crazy. Randy Tobler hosts the Randy Tobler Show this afternoon, 4 o'clock on 93.9. The Eagle hanging out with us here on the show this morning. I wanted to mention this.
Let me double down. Let me double down on the character thing, and I want to compliment Branden Rathert by way of this. Branden Rathert has been very transparent about his personal problems, and had he not been transparent about a personal problem and tried to say, I never had a problem, what are you guys talking about? And let's say somehow you were in the news with that problem, right? That it speaks wonders to you and miles about your character that you're willing to not only share the problems you've had, like we all have problems, but you also then freely offer help and advice and mentoring to people that have the same problem. If Eric Greitens were to come clean and say, look, I did an egregious error. I disrespected my wife. I begged for the forgiveness of the citizens of Missouri. I would have that we wouldn't have even had this last discussion over the 10 minutes that we've had. Does that make sense?
It does, and thank you for your kind words. And if you or somebody you know is having issues with drugs or alcohol, you can reach out to us via text. I won't talk about you on air. I will give you my personal phone number. I can show you what I did after 35 years of hard drinking and some drugs and legal issues. I can tell you, I can show you what I did to get sober. I'm willing to pass that along because I am so incredibly grateful that I'm 633 days now without a drink, and life is amazing. But I agree with the thing, and here's what I tell people. Well, right, nobody's perfect. I get it. Greitens, even prior to him becoming governor, I had some personal issues with him. That's why I always encourage people, listen, when these candidates come through town, go and meet them for yourself. So that's what I tell people. Randy Tobler is here on 93.9 The Eagle. We talk about that a lot actually here on the show. We said it this morning. If Biden had any shred of human decency or honesty, he has to come to terms with his abilities and his lack of certain abilities. There is nothing. He needs to resign. I don't like the idea because then Kamala becomes president, but there comes a point in time when you got to just be honest. And I'll tell you, there is some power in saying, I'm wrong. I'd love to ask people this question all the time. When was the last time that you admitted you were wrong? When was the last time you admitted to somebody, yeah, I made a mistake? What can I do to make that right? I'm always surprised at the answers I get. A lot of times I find people have it, I don't know when was the last time I admitted that I was wrong. Whether you're wrong on a fact or wrong on something personal in life, there's a lot of power in that, and more. Can you imagine the power if Greitens, if all of this stuff is true, all of this stuff, if it were true, if he were to come out and say, you know what, yeah, I did do that, and I apologize, and I've made it right to the people that I've hurt, and I want to make it right to you, my potential voters. There is so much power in that, and I wish we'd see more.
Brother. As long as it's authentic, and as long as it's followed up with some movement towards what us Christians call sanctification, right? I mean, we don't expect to repent and be perfect the next day, month, year. But you should see movement in a person who's truly, trying to change their life and is authentic about that apology and that intent. You'd like to see positive movement in that direction, right? I mean, I think that we all are gracious people. I think what you're talking about is Americans want some authenticity, they want a little humility, and they have a wide window of grace, but that window isn't endless, right? And if it's a phony apology just to get elected and you go right back to your ways, well, shame on you, I mean, and I think that there's a formula here for Republicans of integrity with authenticity, not over-promising, by the way, in the midterms, like, hey, guys, we're going to try to right this ship, but you don't turn a big cruise liner around in 10 minutes, right? It takes a couple hours maybe sometimes to turn 180 degrees, but we promise you we will make good faith efforts to return the prosperity of the pre-Biden era back to the American people.
I admire Eric.
That's all that they can ask for.
I admire beyond belief Eric Greitens' service to our country. And like Shelley off the text says, I'm still undecided, but I think people believe Greitens will be vocal and stand up, and I do believe that stuff. But yeah, there's something with the character and the phoniness, because I've had issues, and this is just my experience. Prior to Eric Greitens ever becoming governor, he was very veneer in disingenuous, in my opinion. That is just my opinion, my dealings with him. Randy, we got to get moving, but I'll give you 20 seconds to mention, what's coming up on your show this afternoon?
Well, we're going to talk to economy, and I hope to talk to a police officer in the mid-Missouri area just to celebrate all of the officers here on National Police Week. It's an important time to remember our first responders in that realm.
Randy Tobler, thank you for joining us this morning here on Wake Up Columbia 93.9, the Eagle Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. What do you have for us?
I've been getting some complaints that we haven't been talking about Elon enough. So,
and we fact-checked that with Nina Jankowicz. You are accurate. You have been getting some complaints.
This show includes language and or cultural stereotypes that are inconsistent with today's standards of inclusion and tolerance and may offend some listeners. But not you. You get it. 93.9 The Eagle.
Good morning, 8:28 time for the Morning Bell. Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you, but we are reimagining it as the daily Elon Musk report, and people are calling out Steph, why ain't you talked about Elon yet today?
I'm still crushing on Elon, but I think he went down a couple notches in my book. I am frustrated. So this week he said, in the past I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party. Kindness party. Anyway, but he said, but they have become the party of division and hate, and I can no longer support them and will vote Republican. Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold with a popcorn emoji, which you gotta love. Just a little trolling there. But so Elon now is voting Republican, which really kind of pisses me off because, like, you're a business person and you've been voting for the Democrats. Like, how stupid can you be? Is kind of what
Did you call your crush stupid?
Kind of. It really, I mean, I'm kind of shocked that he has, I mean, I'm not shocked because he's like a celebrity elitist, kind of person. And so those people do tend to vote Democrat, but still, you own a business. So if he just now voted for Republicans, who'd he vote for in the last election? Who'd he vote for in 2020? And
he's a smart person. I would think most people vote conservative.
Yeah, if you voted for Hillary, I'm sorry. You can't be my boyfriend anymore.
Coming up here about 5 minutes from now, how's the new White House press secretary? We tried to give her a break on our first day or two because we were trying to be nice. And, well, we're 4 days in. Grades are coming in. That's at 8:35. Great question from Fox's Pete Ducey yesterday that had her flat-footed. I have your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast up to 86 today, 71 tonight. Then for your feel-good Friday, 88. Chance of thunderstorms, maybe some rain on Saturday. Tad bit cooler. Saturday's high only 73 right now, 68. 4 out of 10 folks scared of the dentist. Willett Dental Associates practices conscious sedation dentistry to relax those fears. WillettDentalAssociates.com.
Fox News, I'm Steve Rappaport. The Labor Department reports first-time jobless claims increased by 21,000 last week, but the number of Americans collecting benefits dropped to the lowest level in 53 years. Another record high at the gas pumps, AAA reporting a national average of nearly $4.59 per gallon.
We're getting these reports this morning that stations are reprogramming their pumps so they'll be able to display a double-digit price. That is in case gas hits $10 a gallon.
The Fox Business Network's Cheryl Casoni. A city near the southern border is considering a state of emergency as the CDC prepares to lift the pandemic restriction.
Title 42 is a Trump-era policy enacted to expel migrants at the southern border to stop the spread of COVID-19. El Paso City Council planning to vote next week to enact a state of emergency that would allow the West Texas city to receive federal and state funding to address the border crisis.
Fox's Sue Guzman. America is listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:31. Robinson saves you time. 68 right now in Columbia. We have clear skies, but we have a chance of some scattered storms this afternoon. Our high around 86 degrees. Clear tonight with a low near 71. Good morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Here are some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. A downtown Columbia liquor store's license to sell alcohol could be revoked in next month after the Highway Patrol investigation found it allegedly sold to a minor who was then involved in a deadly crash. KMIZ, our news partner, reporting the Division of Alcohol and Tobacco Control has decided to revoke the liquor license for a store called Dash Convenience and Liquor Store. It's on North 9th Street. According to KMIZ, the patrol investigation found the store sold alcohol to 19-year-old Keith Sumner of Roachport on January 3rd. You'll recall Mr. Sumner was driving the wrong way on northbound Highway 63 that night. He hit another vehicle head-on, killing himself and 3 other people in the other vehicle that included a 10-year-old girl. Meantime, Boone County prosecutors filing felony charges against a man suspected of calling in this week's bomb threat to the KinderCare on Ash. Alexander Scott Green charged with 2 felonies, including terrorist threat and harassment. He is still on the run. Missouri's new congressional redistricting map approved by lawmakers is now in effect. The governor has signed it into law. New map splits Columbia and Boone County into 2 districts, and the state health department is conducting free rapid hepatitis C and HIV testing events today. Missouri capital, Jeff City. On the south side, 11 until 1, it is free. News brought to you this hour by WillettDentalAssociates.com. It's 8:33. Turning our attention now to sports here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. The Mets beat the Cardinals last night in Queens, 11-4. The Mets had a home run and 4 RBIs from their first baseman, Pete Alonso. Pretty impressive in the game. Max Scherzer gets the win, 5-1 right now for New York. He had 4 strikeouts in the game. Cardinals and the Mets finishing up their 4-game series today with an afternoon game. First pitch will be at 12:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle. That means our pregame coverage with Tom Ackerman. Early game, Tom will be at the studio in KMOX in St. Louis, 11:20 this morning. And the Royals beat the White Sox last night at Kauffman Stadium 6-2. Royals and White Sox wrapping up their series. Afternoon game at the K. First pitch is at 1:10. Hockey, the Blues in Colorado tonight, 8:30 on TNT. That's at Ball Arena, 8:30 our time. Second round NHL playoffs. Of course, it gets tougher and tougher every game. And the Blues are down in the series 1-0. They lost the opening game 3-2 in overtime. Sports is brought to you this hour by Hemi Construction in Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:34. Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or post your job opening today. Our roads right now have been pretty quiet this morning here in mid-Missouri. We like to see that. You may have noticed traffic is lighter right now in Columbia as a lot of the students have gone home for the summer. Graduations are over. So certainly that has had an impact on traffic. Still a lot of work going on, and road work specifically, so be prepared for that. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
The news director of the entire Zimmer Radio Network. Giggle, yes. Then I that's one of our goals. If Amen. We can make our almost Les Nessman. You know who Les Nessman is?
Nope.
Big name.
You know who Les Nessman is?
Johnny Fever's sidekick.
Yeah, you know who Johnny Fever is?
Nope.
No.
WKRP in Cincinnati, TV show from the late 70s and early 80s. If you were to look up pictures right now of Les Nessman, WKRP.
He's awesome.
You gave Brian the giggles.
I love that guy.
This guy's a meme.
He had a lot of awards. I remember that.
Just like, I hope you are watching on YouTube right now. So that happened recently on the show. That was, I think, the day after Brian Hauswirth took home a roll cart full of awards from the Zimmer Radio Network awards show last week. And apparently somebody saw him rolling out with those awards, said, hey, you ought to come to Jeff City and do this. Did want to highlight something that you're doing tonight, and something that is personally near and dear to me because my sister is a police chief. As a matter of fact, I kept calling it the cookie store. Thank God Hannah was here.
That wasn't even what you were calling it. You were calling it the candy basket.
See, I can't remember.
But, you know, those two are very close. I can see why you would be confused.
I can't even remember the stuff I misremember. But went to the candy factory the other day, get a basket for my sister and the folks in this town where she works, because it's a small town like the whole city hall of this place. It's in a building that's maybe a step above a trailer in a gravel parking lot. Yeah. That's what it's like.
Now, didn't you say that the candy factory had little chocolates shaped like police cars?
Yeah, so I go in there, and
that's awesome.
That's cute.
I'm getting sappy. I don't do stuff like that. That's not what I do. But every time I go and see my sister, because I love her, and she's in law enforcement, I have so much respect for people in law enforcement, volunteer firefighters, 911 operators. So
dispatchers.
Every time I go there, the city manager there says, hey, if you're going to keep come feel free to bring some food. So I went to the candy factory.
Which is something that you would say.
So I went to the candy factory, and they were really helpful. It was really cool. And I said, I just want to get a basket for these people in law enforcement and people who work for the city. And they're like, okay, well, what would you like in it? And I threw out a $50 bill, and they said, you want the $50 bill in there? I said, no, just put like $50 worth of stuff in there. Well, what would you like? I don't know. I'm a guy. Just put some stuff in there, man.
And did you even know that this is National Police Week? Is that why you did it, or is it just a coincidence?
No, because I've been going and seeing them. I didn't know it was National Police.
Oh, what a happy coincidence.
How about that? So I love what you're doing tonight.
I appreciate that, and thanks to you for what you do, Branden, for the first responders all over mid-Missouri, and your sister as well for her service, because in her community, obviously they deal with severe weather and just other stuff. It's really a challenge. But tonight, it's officially called the first annual awards banquet for the Jeff City Police Department. It's the Police Foundation. They're going to be doing a lot of awards tonight. It'll be at the Capitol Bluffs Event Center, which is it's a beautiful area. It's at the I don't know if they still call it Turkey Creek Golf Center. I think they do, but it's a really nice facility they have there. And I've read some of the scripts of people that, without going into any detail, the stories are amazing. They tried to do this a couple years ago. They couldn't do it with the tornado. And there's still areas down there that still have not been, that still just are still affected by that. And then they couldn't do it because of the pandemic. And it's just be some very powerful stories. But I appreciate, I believe it's Captain Eric Wilde, who I've known for years, asked me to do this. An honor to do it when I can make it work, and that'll be tonight. So should be a lot of fun, and just some very powerful stories coming out tonight.
So God bless you for doing that. And I think it's a ball. Are you going to put on a tux and do some swing dancing?
I don't think you'll be seeing me dancing. No, I'll be I know they'll enjoy that, but no, I will. I'll be, they'll have a nice meal, I know, but I'll primarily the master of ceremonies, but I think that ball is afterwards, but I don't do too much. I'm not good at that.
I'm a 51-year-old white guy. I don't either. Brian Hauswirth, and off the text because we have to. One of the greatest lines ever spoken in television from WKRP in Cincinnati.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Thank you for that. Yes. Welcome into the show. By the way, tomorrow we're celebrating a Feel Good Friday, and there's one other big thing that we do on Fridays on the show.
Every Friday we wear red to remember everyone deployed.
We're trying to do that to show our appreciation and love for the folks that are still deployed. So maybe you're thinking about it when you get to work tomorrow. As you're getting ready for work tomorrow, hey, maybe I could put on some red. We are also going to be picking winners and losers of the week. We do it every few. I'm enjoying this on Fridays because it's kind of a chance to highlight the good, the bad, the dumb, the ugly, whatever kind of Clint Eastwood reference you want to make in there, and go back and remember, especially a lot of the good things, because I know especially with this news today, folks waking up this morning, seeing it late afternoon, gas as high as $4.49 a gallon here in mid-Missouri, and it was kind of just like that. So I love that we do the winners and losers because it's also a chance for us to highlight and remember there are some good things that have happened this week.
And it also feels really good to nominate people for loser of the week like Mary Poppins over there. I get lots of fun out of that, too.
The disinformation board, which is just... And I know this is going to sound like a cliche, but I don't know what other words to attach to it. Just when you think things can't get worse, we learned a couple of weeks ago, very quietly, they didn't want people to know. The Department of Homeland Security putting together this misinformation board. We're going to be the decider on what the truth is. Backlash from all sides of the political aisle. Apparently, they're reimagining whether or not they should do this. So that's good news this morning. And I thought, number one, the concept is just, it's an incredibly bad concept. But when you get, and the person they appointed, Nina Jankowicz, when you get appointed for something like this, which is supposed to be important, albeit BS, when you celebrate the announcement to the disinformation communist-like board and you celebrate it like this.
It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared that intel from Ukraine. Or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain. They're laundering disinfo and...
That's like parachute pants of the 80s. She's got to be looking back on that. What was I thinking? What on earth was I thinking? But apparently DHS saying, yeah, we're rethinking it. They're not saying they're not doing it, but they're saying that we are rethinking that. It's just incredible. And that video, like, how on earth, where's this person's head at? And it speaks to, again, that's that mindset on the left. And here's a real question today, and I don't know if you do, please let us know how this goes. But I'm serious when I say this. Gas prices, stock market yesterday, and then more Fox just reporting moments ago, jobless claims, first-time jobless claims, they're up. You're paying up to $4.49 a gallon for gasoline here in mid-Missouri. Baby formula shortage, which was created because the administration's it is their fault. Gas prices, if anybody says, no, it's not the president's fault, it absolutely is. And I will draw you a line from point A to point B to show you or any of your friends that disagree with that. But ask somebody today, and please let us know how it goes. And I'm being serious, and I'll preface it by saying I think you should be nice. Ask somebody who voted for Biden, like, hey, you voted for Biden. We're seeing some of the worst approval ratings ever, which is just an opinion poll. And that speaks volumes too, though, because you say, oh, but it's just an opinion poll. That matters. That shows the mood, basically the collective mood of the country and what people think about the leadership. So I'd be curious if you did to talk to somebody, the gas prices, job numbers, stock market, Afghanistan, that withdrawal, all of this stuff, wanting to put together a disinformation board, this very communist-like thing. Ask somebody, do it nicely, that voted for Biden and say, hey, man, how you doing personally today? Because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'm guessing a lot of these people, and I'm being serious, a lot of these people that voted for Biden, I would think, they've got to be having some real internal struggles right now, not just because things are so bad, but because all of us smart people were saying, listen, if you make this guy president, here's what's going to happen. And it's happening. This is also going to happen. And this is also is what's happening. Ask these people nicely, how are you today?
But it's worse than that. I mean, we said, here's what we think's going to happen, and it's worse than I ever could have imagined. And I will tell you, when Obama got elected, I cried like a baby. And I am not a crier, but I will cry on election. I thought the world was ending. I was really sad about the whole thing. But overall, we talk about how important local and state politics are. And in the grand scheme of things, those things affect your life so much more than national politics. And I will say, through Obama's presidency, my everyday life, I would say I didn't feel the effects like I thought I was going to. I would say overall, it wasn't the end of the world. And it was maybe better than I actually expected, except for Obamacare. There are a couple things. Yeah. But overall, my everyday life, I went along. My day-to-day seemed regular, I would say.
Not a whole lot affecting you and your family.
And this is the complete opposite. No. I mean, I thought, okay, Joe Biden will get it. We'll suffer, quote unquote, for 4 years, and then we'll get over it. And overall, I felt like we'll survive. We'll be okay. Yeah. And it is astronomically worse than I could have ever imagined. I mean, it's horrible.
And if you do that, please let us know. I'll tell you who else got emotional. Last week, Gary Nolan, host of the Gary Nolan Show, weekdays at 9 here on 93.9 The Eagle. And I can't remember if it was gas prices, if he was monitoring the stock, but there was something going on. And if you've ever had the opportunity, every time Gary comes bounding in here to the studio, Gary's a very big man. He's got presence. You know when Gary Nolan is in the room. And I've seen him do two interesting things in the years that I've been privileged enough to know Gary Nolan. I saw him dance, and that was the day following the 2016 election, leading up to the 2016 election. Poll numbers showed Hillary was going to win, and I kept telling him, I'm like, Gary, I promise you Trump's going to win. No, he's not. He's not. I said, Gary, Trump's going to win. Gary said to me, he said, Branden, if Trump wins, if Hillary loses, I will do a dance. I will do it on video, and I will let you post that on Facebook. The next morning, because I spent the night right here on this very floor. If you're watching on YouTube, see where Stephanie Bell is sitting? I slept in this studio that night awaiting election results and waiting for Gary to come in to do the dance.
Do a dance.
You know Gary, for him, he did. He's an older, whiter guy than I am. And he's really not even white, by the way.
I love it.
Yeah, he did that. And that was, you would think, out of character. But he did it. He lived up to his word. And last week, to hear him, and I wished I remembered exactly. I think it was just things in general with Joe. To hear Gary Nolan on the air, just about on the verge of tears, that speaks volumes.
As you talk about that, I'm trying not to get choked up. And I think for me, we talked about it, and I am going to get choked up. But I think for me, we talked about it during COVID. And I think as a parent, I can't talk, but you think that you'll always raise your kid in a play and I can do it. But anyway, that they'll have a better life than you. And I think for the first time, a lot of people are feeling like maybe that won't be the case. And so I can't talk, but it's hard.
Yeah. And we feel for you, Stephanie. We feel for you listening right now. And I wished I had better bumper music than this right now. This is what I... Rathert for Hodges Roofing and Siding, whatever you do. If you call Hodges Roofing and Siding today at 573 Roofing, please do not tell Greg or anybody at Hodges Roofing and Siding. You know, Branden, when he was talking about the great work you guys do with roofing and siding, he was laughing and giggling because here Stephanie is laying her heart and soul out to you this morning, listening to Wake Up Columbia, and then I'm playing Metallica because that's all I've got. That's why I'm laughing. So if you call Hodges Roofing and Siding today, 573 Roofing, please don't tell Greg that. And here's what they do. They, for the convenience of you, they do all kinds of different roofing services, residential, installations, inspections, too. And here's the other thing. If it's insurance work, do you know Greg will sit down with you and do that insurance paperwork for you? Check them out. They do remarkable work. HodgesRoofingandSiding.com.
The power of local talk. Wake Up Columbia with Branden. 93.9 The Eagle.
By the way, we appreciate folks reaching out and trying to comfort Steph on the verge of making me cry and then embarrassed for Metallica after she bears her soul. That's all I had here on the show, and I feel for you, buddy. I do. Michelle Gleba, Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau, is hanging out with us here on the show this morning. We had somebody on yesterday locally. She's got this Facebook page. Parents are texting pictures. Hey, there's baby formula at this store. Hey, I found a way to get it here. And there's a lot of good things, even locally, and I love that people are doing that. As a matter of fact, a young lady's name, Lizzie Denzel, joined us on the show yesterday. And dang it, for years, you and that we've been hanging out. Well, guess what else comes out whenever something big is happening? It's the scam.
Right. Whenever there's a crisis, you can count on scammers trying to take advantage of the situation. And so we just want people to be aware that there is a potential for scams when it comes to baby formula. So you need to be cautious.
Do you know of anything specific that we've seen yet?
So there have been reports from consumers across the country who have been scammed. They went online to buy baby formula. They paid for it and it never arrived. Here in Mid-Missouri, I have not seen any reports as of yet on our BBB scam tracker, but we do want people to be cautious that this scam does exist. It typically happens online. You might see an ad, you might see a social media post, or you might come across a website that's advertising baby formula. So you end up paying for something that never arrives. And there are some signs that you can look for that it could be fraud.
And you kind of have told us that before, when you're desperate for something,
yes,
that's the easiest chance for you to get scammed.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
So in some of those, anytime I see anything that's in any kind of weird Facebook, number one, I buy nothing off the internet except for plane tickets because I'm a white 51-year-old dude and I probably wouldn't know how to buy anything off the internet. But when I see that stuff, my first reaction is, I don't know about that. One or two tips that we can look for that it might be kind of a scam.
Sure. So you want to make sure that there's a brick and mortar address for the website. If you're finding vague information, that can be a red flag. If you're seeing misspellings, grammatical errors, that's a red flag. Other things that you want to make sure that you do is vet that company. So visit bbb.org, check out that website, conduct an internet search with the company and the word scam to see what shows up.
The other thing that gets me is, this looks like a decent company and all this stuff, and their email address is a Gmail account.
Right.
Michelle Gleba, Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau, bbb.org. Thank you for the help this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Gary Nolan's show is coming up just minutes from now. Tomorrow here on the show, we are going to be celebrating a Feel Good Friday. We're going to wear red to remember everyone deployed, and we'll be doing winners and losers of the week. See ya.
Bye.